So, Visions of Mana comes out next month, and Square recently decided to release a demo of the game for the people who have been eagerly awaiting a chance to sink their teeth into the delicious treat that is this game. And while I do admit my excitement for this game hasn't been as rabid as friends like Mad Kaiser or Shrinky Plays, I definitely had an interest in trying out the demo to see if it would boost my hype levels for the game. And after finally finishing it, did my hype rise to new unseen-before levels? Well, yes, but also not really. There was a lot I liked, sure, but some stuff kinda bugs me, and I wanted to make a quick little video talking about my thoughts of the demo. With that said, sit back, eat some candy, make sure to like and subscribe since we're almost at 700, and let's get into what I thought about Vision of Mana's demo. As per the course of my videos, let's get into what I think works well about Visions of Mana. And to start off, let me talk about the graphics, cause whoo boy, did I find the way this game looks to be charming as hell. Visions of Mana's art style is incredibly unique for the game, as instead of going for something hyper-realistic like Final Fantasy XVI or Expedition 33, or choosing some anime-esque stylization like Grand Blue or Trails, it has this insanely endearing cartoonish look to it in the style of something like Altair Mary Remake, to the point where it's almost like you're looking at a 3D children's storybook. This graphical style pales incredibly well with the overworld and character models, and gives everything the sense of whimsy that you don't really see in big-budget AAA games nowadays. While some models can look a bit on the stiff side, it's nice to see that Square is trying to experiment with different art styles, instead of relying on their hyper-realistic style that you see in so many of their games nowadays. And while the overworld looks great when you're moving around in it, I think the game looks at its best in combat, which is a perfect segue to let me talk about the gameplay. The gameplay of Visions is incredibly satisfying. It's a semi-open world action RPG where when you're not fighting, you're partaking in some minor platforming elements or going around solving quests for NPCs. Stuff like hunting down lost items, fighting monsters, that kind of thing. There's a very old school feel to it that'll make longtime RPG veterans smile. But of course, the best part about it was without a doubt the combat. Now, when I first ever saw combat for Visions, I assumed it was going to be very similar to something like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, another action RPG that came out this year. And in some ways, there is a resemblance. Light and heavy attacks, the ability to swap between party members, a special super move that you utilize by charging up through battle, skills in battle costing points. But as it goes on, you start to see that it's very much its own thing the more you experiment with it. For starters, the combat is a bit slower. Strikes are nowhere near as fast as they are in Relink, and that's not a bad thing actually. Far from it, in fact, as the slower speed allows strikes to have more of a visceral feeling to it when fighting a foe. Hits feel a lot more devastating as a result, and you want to get the full combo more and more for that sense of satisfaction. Another thing that's very different is the job system. Yeah, the job system was actually the main thing to pull me in when I started to hear about it. As if you followed this channel, you know I've become a massive fan of those ever since I played the original Final Fantasy games. It's a very unique system in this one. See, in the menu, you use these things known as alms, and whenever you lock them to a specific character, they will get a job tied to said alm. And each job not only gives you a new weapon to utilize, but it also gives you with a new combo to master. I experimented with all of them, and I think my favorite so far is probably the Nomad job, as it gives the character dual blades, and I am a sucker for that kind of shit. Something tells me that this game is going to have a lot of replayability with this kind of job system, and I am all for that. Another cool aspect of combat was the ability to summon an elemental power during battle by pressing right trigger, at least for me when I was playing on PC and using an Xbox controller. You can summon an elemental affinity that will lend you help in battle. There isn't a whole lot to see with this one, as you only have 2 elemental alms throughout the entire demo, but I am really curious to see what all of the alms will do towards the end game. And of course, I saved the best part about the gameplay for last, and that is the movement. God, I love how you move in this game. There's of course just normally walking around and the rush mechanic, sure, but the single best part of movement is the dash mechanic and just how infinitely you can utilize it. And you can do it anywhere, so you can dash multiple times in the air or in battle. It is unbelievably satisfying to utilize all of this against not only normal enemies, but the boss fights too, as few as you got in the demo. And that's pretty much it for gameplay, so let's get into the story and characters. They're both fine. They're kind of hard to really get a super great handle on considering this was only about an hour-long demo, but so far I don't have any major issues with them. I actually really like the character Morley, this weird cat creature dude that seems pretty chill. He gives me Yusuke energy from Persona 5, and I'm very curious to see how his arc is going to play out throughout the game. And while the story does seem like the just guide the chosen people to the set destination to save the world shtick we've seen a lot, there is some interesting stuff happening here. Like apparently the Earth Alm is dead or something. It implies a village is destroyed. and I do admit that has me somewhat curious. I'll have to wait until we play the actual game, though. And even though there wasn't a whole lot here, I can't say I am not at least a little interested in see what Visions is going to bring to the table. And that's all for what I think worked. So let's get into what I think didn't. So, for the most part, I didn't really have a lot of major issues with the demo. It does a good amount of stuff right, and it got me more interested in the game. But there were some things that I didn't really super jive with while playing it, and I figure that I'm going to break them down right here. Let me get into this first and foremost, what I dislike about the combat. For one, the healing. Now, in Visions, there seem to be two ways you can heal so far. One is through using items like candy and other sorts of various foods, and the other one is one of your off-screen party members healing you. And I'll be real here, I'm not a super huge fan of the latter, as I'd much rather prefer to control when a character can heal me, rather than just hope they do at the right time. I'm not against the idea of a character healing me without my control. You don't get through as many Kingdom Hearts games as I do without learning to deal with that. But I'm also hoping that they will have the ability to let us control how much she heals us. Like, for example, can I change it to that she heals me far more frequently, but I get less health as a result? And of course, vice versa. It wouldn't be a massive letdown if I wasn't able to change that, but I do kind of hope they let you control the frequency of healing if possible. Another complaint I had with the gameplay was with the heavy attacks. See, instead of following the trend of other action RPGs, where the length of your combo determines what the heavy hit is, Mana makes the heavy hit exactly the same no matter how long your combo is. And that honestly kinda sucks. I can get why, after all, if you're going to have so many job classes, then I'm guessing you don't have enough time to just give them every single new combos. But I think that also kinda misses the point. Heavy combo finishers aren't really just there to look cool. They're there so you experiment with the combo potential of each movement. After all, you can make a longer combo and get a heavy attack and get a different result than one where you just do 2 hits and then do one. But when your heavy attack is pretty much all the same no matter what, you don't really have any urge to experiment with the other combo styles.
I really hope when the full game comes out, we get the option to level up jobs so we can unlock new combos for endgame heavy attacks. Cause as of right now, I believe the heavy attacks are probably the most disappointing part of combat for me.
And that's all my issues with gameplay. So let me talk about the story and characters. Like I said before, they're fine. I'm hoping that they don't stay fine though, because outside of Morley, no one really has grabbed my interest. The only ones that got semi-close were the main character Val and that thief friend you meet in the town that kind of comes across like he knows more than he lets on. The one country girl and the healer chick that seems to have a crush on Val were pretty one note, and I do really hope they get more development in the main game. It may seem like I'm being a tad on the harsh side here, but that's only because I only have the demo to go off of, and those were my issues. And I am genuinely hopeful that the main game will change my mind. Other than that, I don't have any other issues, so let me get to my final thoughts. Now that we have come to the end of this demo overview, I think I can say that while I don't think Visions of Mana is my most anticipated game of the year, that probably still goes to Metaphor ReFantaso, I do think it has shot up the list of games that I want to play. May even get it day one at this point. Yeah, it has its issues, but it is immensely charming even with them, and maybe the main game can change my mind on all I thought was kind of lacking. That's all for this video, folks, though. Thank you for watching, and I'm curious. For those who had tried the demo, did it win you over far more than me? Were you disappointed by it? Let me know in the comments down below. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time for more RPG content.